Okay, I'll go look at the prescription of donuts. Yes, it's easy to dilute fools. Especially those who threatened you according to the type of "I know your IP address" or "wait for a dox, fucker." But today we'll talk about the incognito regime, to what he was actually invented and how he worked at the beginning. I'll tell you about his myths in which you believe, and what is the best way to hide all your donuts from prying eyes. But first I'll start small. I will begin, probably with the history of the appearance of our dark but holy system incognito. Incognito, or private viewing mode, first appeared in the Safari browser from Apple with the release of the AAA version. This is confirmed by historical data on the release of Safari, where the private browser function was provided as a way not to maintain the history of views. Well, again, probably someone watched donuts and so, damn it, I want this function that will not maintain my story. Agree, we all want no one to maintain our story. However, the term incognito became popular later, with the release of Google Chrome in December, where it was called incognito mode. This is mentioned in the official Google blog of December 11th in 2008 years. Before Safari, there were similar concepts in less famous browsers, for example, in Netspace navigation, where there was no full private regime. Safari took the first step, but Chrome popularized it thanks to mass distribution. After that, other browsers, such as Firefox, who decided to announce in June, and Internet Explorer. The story of history, well, can I think about, but why they created it at all? And why did they really come up with it? Maybe you don't need it all? And, are you still here, damn it? Okay, then listen. The incognito regime was developed to provide users with the opportunity to view the web pages, leaving no traces on the device available to other people. And at the beginning of the 2000 years, computers were often common. In families, offices, schools, or libraries. Well, or in bedhands. Yes. If someone was looking for a gift, watched personal content or checked a bank account, these actions could remain in the history of the browser or in cooks. In Cook, Nyum Yum No Yum, becoming available to the following users. The incognito mode solves this problem without maintaining the data locally after the completion of the session. Well, for example, you are buying a surprise for your spouse on a common laptop. Without incognito, the story of the purchase in the online store will remain, and the surprise will be spoiled. Do not buy rubber tea. Believe me, he will not come to the girls, but the guys will come in, okay? You seem to understand, but for now, let's look at you for what else they used it. Firstly, the developers use incognito to see the site from the clean sheet, without the influence of the preservation of cookies, cache or authorization data. This will help to check how the site looks for a new visitor. For example, test the form of entering the site there, and in normal mode you are already authorized, but in incognito there is no, which imitates a new user. The following some sites, for example, news there. They just limit free access through cookies. Incognito allows you to circumvent this non-restraint of this session. Well, again, for example, New York Times gives 5 free articles per month. Incognito, the counter drops with each new session. Of course, by the way, they still do not track the IP address, which, of course, is strange. They could have realized it. Okay. Further internet cafe. In libraries or on workers, the incognito protects from preservation of passwords, history, or autofilling of forms. For example, you check the mail in the library and without incognito the next user can see your email and history. But why is this not complete anonymity? Developers, such as Apple, Google, Mozilla, have never positioned incognito as an instrument of complete anonymity. It was a compromise between convenience and a minimum protection that does not require complex technologies like encryption or proxy. For complete anonymity, there are VPN or Tor, but they are more difficult to use. So, I'm thinking that I could chew you all this. But now you need to chew about the myths that you believe in, and honestly, it is alarming that you still believe in them. And let's tell me right now what kind of myths are and why it's not true. The first myth. Complete anonymity on the internet. Many people think that incognito hides you from everyone. But, alas, this is not so. Internet providers, sites and employers see your IP address and activity. Google even shows a warning. Your activities may still be visible to visit you. Damn, and my hoarfrost, he sends me. In short, here you have the text. And there is one great proof. The study of the 18th year from the University from Chicago showed that 60-2% of users mistakenly considers incognito completely anonymous. Fucking morons, of course. The second myth is protection against viruses and hackers, and this is how it sounds. Incognito allegedly protects against harmful software. But, alas, this is not so. It does not affect safety. If you download the virus, it will remain on the device. And, for example, Kaspersky, whom you praise, he will react. Narton will also react. The third myth, removing all traces of activity. And many believe that incognito erases everything you did. But, alas, this is not so. Downloaded files and bookmarks remain. For example, download the photo in incognito, and it will remain in the download folder. 3. Well, in principle, everything is logical here. It will really remain in loading. Check for yourself. And the fourth myth is the hiding of the location. Many believe that incognito allegedly masks your geographical address. But this is not so. The IP address is visible and without VPN locations are determined. For example, you can go to iplocation.net in incognito and the location will be displayed correctly. Further myth fifth, turning off the advertisement. Many believe that there is no personalized advertising in incognito, but this is not so. Advertising adapts to the current session, there are searches, behavior, but does not use past data. For example, look for laptops, and after a couple of minutes, advertising laptops will appear. And there is evidence from the study by Adweek. Now about anonymity. If you really want to become completely anonymous, then listen straight very carefully, because the information will really be correct. And the most shocking, perhaps, if someone really does not fumble in this. First, use a reliable VPN to mask the IP address. What is just a VPN? This is the virtual part of the network, encrypts your internet traffic and redirects it through the server in another country. I hide your real IP from sites and internet providers. Well, in general, I now wanted to make an information for a moment, but now it was faster. But then I'll tell you. And how to do it. For example, select a VPN with the no logs policy, without introducing logs. For example, Mulvade, ProtonVPN, or NordVPN. PCMake recommends Mulvade for its anonymous payment methods. And you also need to make sure that the VPN uses modern encryption protocols WireGuard or OpenVPN and has the kill switch function, that is, the internet disconnection when VPN fails. Also pay anonymously for the VPN, for example, cryptocurrency Bitcoin, Monero, or Cash. Some as a MO8 support it. Also regularly change the VPN server to make it difficult to correlate traffic. For example, you connect to the servers in Sweden via ProtonVPN. Sites see the Swedish IP, and your provider sees only encrypted traffic to VPN. But there are restrictions. VPN can introduce hidden logs, so check independent audits, for example, from DEET or PVC. Also, VPN does not protect against tracking. If you enter the account, for example, Google there. Alas, he will see him. Strong evidence. Security.org and if what, their post. The following, use Tor to a browser for anonymous viewing. But if anything is in Firefox, it is also easy to turn off and really not to sweeten the data from you. Thank you for this, Firefox, I love you. And what is Tor? And more precisely, the Onion router. This is a browser that directs your traffic through 3 random nodes, encrypting it at each stage, which makes it almost impossible to determine your real IP. How to do it? Firstly, download Tor to the browser from the official site. Link in the description. Second, use the Tor for all views, especially for access to the online site, that is, hidden services in the darknet. And also this may not be required for you, but you need to configure bridges in the Tor if your provider blocks it. Well, this is Russia. The following, combine Tor with the VPN in front of Tor and, in short, you will change it for additional protection against the analysis of the input node. For example, you go to the site through Tor, requests occur through the UZU in Germany, Japan and the USA, hiding your real IP. But there are also restrictions, again. For example, the Taurus is slower than ordinary browsers due to multi-layer routing. Also, input nodes can see your IP if without VPN. And the weekend is not encrypted traffic if the site does not use HTTPS. Therefore, look carefully what is in the beginning, okay? Also, do not download the files and do not enter the accounts through the Tor to avoid leakage. And there is one more great proof to all that I told you. This is on behalf of Paradise Vird, or rather, their post. The following is to use an anonymous operating system. Well, you must admit that standard OS, Windows or Mac OS collect telemetry and retain the log of activity. And you don't have to fuck here, that you can cut it off, it's all so easy. How can you explain it? You see, you will cut it. It seems that the dispatcher will show the task like that, but I don't work. You can only break the system. And if there are download assemblies there, then believe me, telemetry will still remain. She will stay. Still, anonymous OS, such as Tails or Honix, minimize traces on the device. I know this is Linux, but believe me, it is easy for you to figure it out with Linux if you can read. If you do not know how to read, then FFFRAPACT. For example, TOS. Download the TOS from the site teos.net and install the drive on a USB. But, by the way, you can either use Rufus or another installer. I use it, for example, and you can use several images at once. Believe me, it will be even easier for you. And TOS works in RAM and does not write data to the disk, including Tor in the browser and encryption tools. Run the TOS on any computer by selecting the download from the USB in BIOS. Use built-in tools such as OnionShare and JPG. For anonymous file exchange, well, there is also Honix. Install Honix in a virtual machine in VirtualBox. She shares gateway networks and a workstation, directing all the traffic across the Thor. And by the way, it is suitable for constant work, but it requires a very powerful PC. So, for a secret. A minute of information. Correlation. It is like a friendship between two things when they move together. Imagine if you eat cocaine more, then your stomach hurts more often. They are connected, bam. There is a positive correlation when one thing grows, well, our cable, the other also grows, that is, abdominal pain. Or a negative correlation when one grows, for example, during sleep, and the other falls, fatigue. But it is important to understand that the correlation does not mean that one causes the other. Maybe cocaine and abdominal pain are connected because you eat them at night. This is just a hint that they often happen together. And if it is straight with simple, consent words, the correlation is when two pieces change not separately, but as if holding hands. Well, like OnlyFans and Arabs, yes. Use encrypted and anonymous communications. Ordinary messengers, such as WhatsApp, Telegram, email services, collect metadata or require personal information. Anonymous alternatives protect your correspondence. How, for example, to do it? Messages such as a signal with a fictional number, for example, through an anonymous VoIP service, such as MySudo or Zramer, which does not require phone number. Configure endangered messages for additional protection. But about email, create it through Napratan Email or Tuta. Or Copley. There are very cool domains. It was even with Hitler. Both are in Switzerland and send to the end encryption. For temporary needs, use a Tempmal or Gorilmal, and for file exchange, use OnionShare built-in details, or Kbase for encrypted file exchange. For example, you send a file via Onurbis et Tor. The recipient does not know your IP, and the file is encrypted. But there are restrictions. The signal requires a number, which can be a problem without anonymous VoIP. And some services require JavaScript, which increases the risk of fingerprint. Minute of information, gentlemen. Finger app. It's like sites or applications collect a bunch of little things about you to find out. Find out again. Well, or Arab wants to learn from you. Pupsichka, admit, Arab wants you. Even if you don't say who you are, they look at what your phone is, what a browser, fonts, screen size, even how you move the mouse. All this is your unique imprint, like from a finger. Well, or as an imprint from your online one on your reading. Okay, that's all today. If this information was really useful to you, subscribe and like. And on this I say goodbye. See you and until new adventures. Bye bye.